that's a tremendous looking trophy.
Welcome to the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. Joining me this week, Ciaran Marchant.
So we're back to this shit show, are we?
I don't understand. Ashley Hobley's also here.
Oh, I get what you're saying. I understand what you mean.
So we're back to sounding
I'm
like
sorry
idiots.
that I don't write for a established traditional media platform.
Oh yeah, that's right. And I am as always Dylan Blight, your host of this lovely, very professional podcast where we discuss all manner of things with professional media people.
As
Serious.
a podcast, we
Then
sounded
us.
very serious last week. We sounded
It was
professional.
I thought it was
serious.
a good episode.
It was a
I
great
thought
episode.
It was a pretty good episode.
It was, if we need to send people like a piece of our work of this show to make them
Yeah.
impressed, we'll
That
send them that
episode.
episode with just the sections where Paul talks.
Yeah.
So I think there was a good mixture of seriousness with our usual shenanigans.
I think so. There
Yeah.
was, but it made when somebody who knows how to talk about video games without randomly yelling at each other or
I had also drunk 5 drinks by the end of that podcast. To be fair,
you'd set a precedent.
what it's
The more
there's
drunk you are, the
usually
more
a number.
professional you are.
You usually
apparently.
keep it under 3, and I went above it, and it paid off, or showed. It's however good or bad depending on how you want to look at it. Good episode though.
Thank you, Paul,
Shout
for
out
carrying
to
this.
Player 2's Paul James.
Play2.net.au.
Sorry, say it. .net.au.
We went through a whole thing. Did you not listen to the podcast, Dylan? We went through a whole thing about how to say it.
Oh my god.
Like-
I can't imagine. Imagine if we had explosionnetwork.net.com.
.co.au.
.uk. Welcome to the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. Please check it out on explosionnetwork.co.uk. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense, guys. Are you a UK podcast? No, we're not.
It was just cheaper to get our website hosted like that.
It was cheaper to get it hosted in the UK than Australia. Like most things, it's more expensive here. Actually, we don't even have AU. We've got .com.
.com, man.
Yeah.
From that
.com.
.com
Professional.
generation.
Yeah.
Because we're not just Australian, that's why.
That's right. We are also New Zealand's.
If
New
there was
Zealand's?
an Oceania's domain, we'd have that.
Yeah.
But there isn't.
Explosionnetwork.oce.
Well,
Please,
you'd still have the
make it.
.com.
.oce.com.
Why not .co.oce or .coce?
.coce.
.coce.
I'm
That
gonna
makes
admit to
no
hands to this
sense. That is a
situation.
terrible idea.
What's wrong with that? Explosionnetwork.co.uk. I can't even say it. properly.
exactly.
That's how good it is.
That's how bad it is.
No, it's good. It's great.
Listen, I'm going to put a halt to this because I actually have some video game stuff to talk
No, you
about.
don't.
A lot
What
this
a-
week.
Ah,
a lot.
good one,
A
Dylan.
lot. Believe it or not, a lot of video game stuff.
Well,
Starting
lucky the
with-
professionals are here.
Yes, me to actually move on the show from that fucking shit skit from a fuck. I can't even call it a skit because it's not like we're acting this out. It's just shit.
would you call it
show.
a bit?
It's a shit show. It's a bit.
It's a bit.
It's very much a bit. All right. Surprisingly, big video. The best-selling games of last week dropped, and I usually don't look at these and go, I have to read them out every show. But for some reason, I was like, Shadow of the Colossus is number 1.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Nothing else has
Like-
been out, has it?
I found it really odd between Monster Hunter, Dragon Ball Z, your usual COD selling like hotcakes continually for at least the next year until the next one comes out. GTA's on the list, all sorts of things. Just the fact that it's a first-party remake and it's at number 1, I found quite impressive.
Well, it is
especially when you consider
super acclaimed. I mean,
it is super acclaimed,
It
but
is
it's
very
just
pretty.
also funny
And
when
it
you
is-
think about Crash Bandicoot as well.
It's
like
at a
two Sony
yeah,
size
it's
things.
at that lower price point as well, which would gets
You've
people
been
in.
playing it. I saw on PlayStation.
Yeah, I played a
Store.
little bit. Thanks, buddy, for the hookup. Yeah,
What do you mean the hookup?
What do you mean the hookup? Where was the hookup?
no, just like a store discount. That's all.
Oh, you say that? Do I
Yeah,
need to
buddy.
bleep this?
Do we need
Buddy
to-
Watson.
Are we
Buddy
endangering
Watson.
Buddy's job?
12
right now?
on Twitter. Hit him up.
Oh,
We
you're
didn't
just
ask him
giving
why
his
you didn't
personal details as well.
What?
Bloody hell.
Are we
eh?
endangering his job or?
Oh, God, Ashley.
I didn't say where he works. Just
Oh, that's true.
That's-
But, I
although
mean,
he
we
does
have-
say where he works on his on Dash Culture. So
So, if you want to combine our podcast with Dash Culture, combine it, you'll work out the mystery that is Buddy Watson. Good on
Yeah.
you. Love you, buddy.
So he hooked you up with an already cheap game.
yeah, with a little bit cheaper.
How much you played?
I've done 3 Colossi, so probably
Third,
An hour, maybe?
Quarter. An
It's a
hour?
lot
An
quick-
hour?
yeah.
You did 3
Yeah.
Colossi in an hour?
yeah. They died a lot quicker than I was expecting.
Yeah, me too, because I haven't played
'Cause
it.
that's pretty much where the point that I got to when I played it like on PS3. I think I got like 3 in, and then I couldn't handle the controls anymore.
This is one of those games that I've always wanted to play, and I still never get to it. Every time they re-release it, I just never play it. And I'm always like, I really need to play that game. Put it out on PS3, HD remaster. I should really buy that. Nope. They give it to me free PS Plus, I think.
Yeah,
Still never played it. Re-release it 4K. Fuck yes, I'm excited. Look how beautiful this game looks in the trailers. I'm going to play this shit on my Pro. It's going to be amazing. Still haven't brought it. Now, the reason I still haven't brought it is monetary.
monetary.
So at least I have a...
Monetary?
I have a proper
Monetary?
reason. It's momentarily an issue.
It's a momentarily issue.
You know, because it's overcome eventually by blowing hookers for
I don't think that's how that works.
No. No.
dollars to get Shadow of the Colossi.
Yep.
Dylan,
Is
you
that the name
shocked
of the
me.
video game?
Are you
We're talking
okay, Dylan? Like, even as my arch nemesis, I'm worried about you.
So here's the full list for you in case anyone's interested. Last week, the top selling games in Australia were number 1 Shadow of the Colossus, number 2 UFC 3, number 3 Monster Hunter, number 4 COD World War 2, number 5 Dragon Ball Z Fighters, number 6 GTA 5, number 7 Assassin's Creed Origins, number 8 Rainbow Six Siege, number 9 Mario Odyssey, and number 10 NBA 2K. Are there any that stand out to anyone there? Because there was another thing that stood out to me.
Rainbow Six Siege. That's
Yeah.
So
That
that's-
big update
There's
thing
just
they
a
did.
big update. Like, they've announced the new DLC, and then they just really, I think it's like Contagion or something. Some like
So everybody
like
who-
some horde mode thing.
everyone who traded in is buying it again. Is that what happened?
But here's the thing. I'm pretty sure these don't count like pre-owned sales.
No.
This is new sales. So it's been selling enough new copies that it's made its way into the top 10.
For me,
Which I
Rainbow
find
Six is one of those
interesting.
like Rainbow Six Siege is one of those games when I look at it in the same tier as GTA Online is how well they are supporting that game. There's constantly new content being released for it. There's new characters. The developers actually look like they want to support it, so all power to it. The interesting one for me is, and I don't know if that's just because of the gaming circles I'm in. I haven't heard anybody speak about UFC 3. Like, I've not read anything about that game, and that's a
No,
game
I didn't know it was out until
I've seen a couple of
I've read
reviews,
this.
but that's about it.
I haven't even read reviews. Like UFC 3 Undisputed on the Xbox 360, I played non-stop. That was like the game always on my console. And to go to this where it's now, I'm like, oh, okay, it's out. Crap. Okay. Why is nobody asking or talking about this?
people in Australia love the UFC, man.
Tap
They
out
just don't want
shirts.
to talk about it.
Okay, fair
secret.
enough. Fair enough.
These people that just buy Call of Duty have now also taken to picking up one copy of UFC also.
Yeah, fair enough. Makes sense.
And that does sound like a joke, except for I know people that are literally, that's what they do. So,
Gone down to EB Games in their tap out shirts and their USC merchandise clothing.
yep.
Yep. Get them that game with Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor.
I thought you loved Conor McGregor.
I do like Conor McGregor. It doesn't mean I'm not
Okay.
going to make fun of it. I
Okay,
love
that's
UFC, but that gives me the right to make
It's funny that he's on the cover and he hasn't fought in an MMA fight in like
yeah, I
3
know.
years.
It's been hey, come on. He sells copies. It's fine.
Sure does.
The only place you'll see him fight is on UFC 3.
That's how they're selling the game.
Yeah. So go buy it.
If you want to see him fight, do it your
If
fucking
you want
self.
him to pretend that he's an actual normal member of their roster, go.
Where the
go
fuck
to
is
that
my
game.
belt? It's up to you, players. All right, next one. This is a Jason Schreier story over from Kotaku. Did a piece that Hangar 13, the developer behind Mafia 3, has had layoffs. 2K confirmed the news to Kotaku when they reached out to them and said, quote, 2K can confirm that there have been staff reductions at Hangar 13 in order to ensure the studio's resources aligned with its long-term development plans. They didn't just specify exactly how many people were laid off, and apparently they were prototyping a game where you would fight to music and your moves would create songs like the cancelled Harmonix game Chroma. This is interesting news because even with Mafia 3's mixed reviews when it came out back in the day, it actually shipped to retailers / sold, however 2K would sell it to you, over 5 million copies and was a financial success to 2K, even though the game got reviews from anywhere from 9s to like 5s from critics. Yeah. And if you look at user reviews, it's anywhere from 10s to 1s. So I think it's an interesting news. I find it interesting that that game for a start actually sold a lot better than I thought it would.
It had a huge marketing plan. Like the marketing for that game was massive. So
and they're still saying it was a financial success. So it must have made enough. Did anyone else here play Mafia 3? Any of the other Mafia games? And what do you think about these odd layoffs? I mean, they happen, but it's like a weird thing, I suppose.
No, I didn't play any of the Mafia games, but it sounds like from how you describe the game they're working on that it's probably a smaller game, like not a AAA budget project. So it makes sense that they'd probably cull a couple of people, unfortunately, just for the scope of the project.
My thing with Mafia 3 was when it came out, it was the first game in a long time that was like that middle ground, like the THQ type game. It wasn't a AAA big game. It wasn't it was like a AA game or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Ciaran?
I really loved all the Mafia games. I played the crap out of Mafia 1 and 2. Mafia 3, though, I started playing a lot, but then it just got really repetitive really quickly, and that I got over that pretty quick. And there was some minor things about that game that really bothered me when I was playing that kind of threw me off wanting to play it. Like even just the minor detail of when you were driving around, there was like a rear view mirror at the top of the screen and you couldn't turn it off, but the draw distance of that was tiny. So it'd be like road, car, grey, just like a grey wall. And it's like, now that I've seen this, I can't not look at it and I couldn't turn it off. And that partially ruined the game for me. Because
that's like such a weird, small PC player bullshit thing to get fucking pissed off about.
I was just like, let me turn this rearview mirror off, please. And they're just like, no, there's no settings for that. And I'm like, well, shit.
I brought the collector's edition for this game.
Did it come with something cool? Did it have something cool?
It did come with some very cool things. It came with 2 vinyls.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you could
was
play
the soundtrack good?
You could play your vinyls when
it has
you go
a really
down
good
to the bayou.
soundtrack. Well, it's got that it's got a bunch of like 60s, 70s music. It's got a really cool soundtrack. I think, and then one of them's like double-sided with songs from the game, then the other one's the actual like score from the game, which was also really good. So I didn't regret buying the collector's edition because that's generally cool collector's edition items. Like that's cool to me. Other stuff you got was like his like dog tags, like his army ones or whatever. So it's just like random junk like that. However, I platinum Mafia 3 and I am I will defend the game even though I admit the hands to its defaults constantly.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will.
Because the thing is, I thought the story and the characters and everything was such a strong point in it. And the weakest parts was the gameplay, like the repetitive mission structure, the fact that it felt like it was a game in which they had a really cool story that would have been better off told in just like pushing you through a level, like typical linear kind of mission structure or something like that. But they wanted it to be like the other Mafia games, of course, and they had this open world forced structure on them, and they just filled it with a bunch of mindless, minuscule, random tasks and other crap that you needed to do to progress at points in time. You also needed to do some side quest stuff to progress the story, which was really annoying. But I pushed for it simply because I enjoyed the characters and the story, and that world was really interesting, and the time period and the fact that you was playing as this black character during that time period and stuff like that. The fact that you got to see the main dude from Mafia 2 was fucking fantastic.
That was
because I love
awesome.
Mafia 2 as well. Yeah, when he shows up, it's great.
I marked out when I realized he was one of the low-level bosses, and I loved the documentary-style storytelling that they used in that game, like the interviews with different characters. That was awesome, and I loved it. It was just you're building up to this big boss of this, mobster organization, and you put people in charge as like lower-level bosses. Like, you're like my boss of this area, but they still can't deal with their own shit. You have to go there and deal with it for you. You're just like,
it's like real life.
What's your point? What's the point?
The end of that game I actually found really cool. Like the last mission, you do get like a or B decision in the story, but either way, it kind of plays out really cool because, of course, the last mission is you finally go in to storm the big bad's place, and you go in and shoot up a bunch of people, and you end up driving off into the sunset like a fucking badass after taking them out, of course. That was really cool. I remember, so they gave me the season pass with the collector's edition.
But there was no DLC?
No, they put out DLC, but at the time, I remember thinking, oh, well, the DLC is not going to come out for like a couple months, and I could trade this in, because I got the plat in like a week or so, because I just played the fuck out of it. I was like, I could just trade this back in now for a decent amount, just the game, which I did. I got like $40-50 at EB with it. So good. And I always remember just being like, I'll just pick it up when it's pre-owned again one day so I can play the DLC. And I've never seen it cheap enough because I always wanted just to pick it up again for like $15-20 maybe, something like that. Just enough to buy it, play all the DLC, which I've got access to because I would like to play it, and then just trade it back in for $10 or fucking $8 or whatever the hell and not lose that much money. So Sony, if you're listening, you put on PS Plus soon. That would help me out quite a lot.
I don't see that happening.
So Dylan can go back to the bayou and go row with the crocodiles. Go back to the bayou.
The crocodiles are fucking cool. You could they'll eat people in that game and shit. It's awesome. I just find it interesting because my favorite, the point being, my favorite part from that developer, because Hangar 13, this was their first game, right? They were handed this game, they handed them the Mafia franchise, and they said, here, go, come up with a cool story in this world. And from the moment they put out the first trailer for that game, which was like this really cool cinematic, they pulled up it was like all the characters you would eventually get as your side, what do you call it, underbosses and shit like that.
Underbosses.
They all walk out and they like say some shit, and it's really like cool, really like gangster kind of cinematic trailer. So from the moment go, here's a game where it's like these guys are doing character and story well, and then they describe this apparent project they're working on as like a music fighting game, which has nothing to do with the side of what I think they did so well, which was story and character. So I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like that's the stuff you were weakest at, gameplay. Do a linear story third-person shooter or something like that. Or it doesn't even need to be a third-person shooter, but just some kind of story-based thing. Something. You said you're a fan of the Mafia franchise, Kim. What would you like to see if they were to make a Mafia 4? Where would you like it to be set?
I don't know. It's hard because, like, I don't...
You can't go back.
I kind of would go back to New York and stuff just because...
Well, you can go back to New York, but you can't go back in time period. You
can't go back in time period. It has to be forward.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you like. How far could you go though?
We can go 70s or 80s.
Do you think the Mafia doesn't exist today?
Yeah.
Well, that's true. Like I
70s or 80s, and then you're getting into like Vice City GTA territory.
I'd like to go like end of the 70s, like start of the 80s kind of period, like that change in dynamic in that world. That would be really cool. And just, I don't know where to go, though. It's a lot. It's just, I don't know. Do you ever play the Godfather games? Godfather games were fantastic.
Godfather 2 was awesome.
It was so cool.
That one was really cool. That did what everything that Mafia 3 wanted to do better, where they wanted you to get the businesses and the rackets and go collect your money and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that game was so good.
I mean, I wouldn't mind a game like that again, but I don't know. It's like a time sink. Anyway.
Part of me is a bit, I kind of wish people would... We've had this revolution of open world games over the last X amount of years. I kind of like the revolution to start for single story player linear games to come back again, just for a little bit, just for, people just focus on good gameplay with good stories, have some options and stuff. Don't make it be like, no matter what, you're always going in the
LA
same direction.
Noire, big open world with like sweet fuck all to do.
Well, don't even give me, like, you know what? LA Noire was awesome when I decided I was just going to let my partner drive everywhere and, like, skip.
Yep.
Like, that's when that game got really
You
fun
just
for me.
ignore the open world.
Was just,
Yeah.
I ignored the open world section of it and I just skipped between locations. That's when I was like, yep, no, this is awesome.
And you missed all the conversations.
No, because it doesn't let you, like, when something important's going to happen because the drive takes place and then you sit down and you just chill out and you listen to them talk. If there's no conversation on the road, it just skips to the next place.
It's like making sure you gotta listen to fucking cousin in Nico Bellic. You fucking take me in the taxi. We go for a drive. You don't skip the drive when you get in the taxi because you just want to hear what your cousin has to say the entire time.
Exactly.
Fuck that. All right. Now we have to do a little of a PSA. Even though I put it out on Twitter, that yes, Platinum Explosion was part of spreading #fake news.
What?
What?
I know.
You mean the facts on this show are not 100% accurate all the time?
Facts on this show, which is quite often 99.69% correct, was incorrect.
You mean
At least once.
we didn't put in the research and the work to find out if facts were true?
Didn't fact check.
You're correct. You're 100% correct. I was tricked by just believing the big dogs up there. The big dogs telling me what's what, and I believe them, and that's my mistake. And if you don't know what we're talking about by now, I'd like to take a moment to apologize for saying that those Tataku line of figures were supposed to be PlayStation toys.
Cut to a clip.
Cut to a clip of what? Me. Cut to the episode. No, I can't be bothered doing
Yeah.
that. So what happened is this week, the new listings got put up and everyone was like, they're not all PlayStation. That's interesting. And the people in charge of the line were kind of like, we never said they were all PlayStation. Yous were just assuming that because the first bunch of toys we released were all PlayStation ones. So what it turns out is that they are a line of toys coming from ThinkGeek, which are owned by GameStop in America, and that's why they're going to be EB Games exclusive in Australia. That all makes sense. And the new ones they announced are 4 Sony ones still. So you got Art. I don't even know how to say the fucking character's name. Atreus? Like, that must be the boy from God of War. Articuno and Kratos from God of War. Evan from Ni no Kuni 2 and Jin from Tekken. But then the 2 non-PlayStation ones they are releasing are Sonic the Hedgehog and Gold Holder from Sea of Thieves.
Gotta love that gold holder.
Gotta love that Gold Holder because I love Sea of Thieves and I would like a pirate or something like that. But you know what? Fuck that. Gold Holder.
Gold Holder be a good name, see?
No, maybe when you say it like that, I mean, you're selling me on it.
Gold Holder.
So,
Gotcha.
the moral of the story, and to fix the #fake news, is these are budget collectibles being put out by ThinkGeek, and they're getting licenses for popular game franchises. And it just so happens that apparently Sony has either heard about this and wanted to jump on it and make sure a heap of their stuff is part of this out the gate, or ThinkGeek has chased after Sony for their stuff. I don't know. Either way.
Or nobody will want to buy Xbox ones.
Or
ThinkGeek came to Microsoft and was like, hey guys, can we have a list of your, your prominent characters in your exclusive games? And Microsoft were like, Master Chief.
Forza Car.
Marcus Phoenix.
Not anymore.
I don't. Yeah, they were just. God damn it, Microsoft! Get some exclusives.
Not happening. So yeah, that's the story of this. Now, with the looking at it on the new light, in light of the new news, we can just look at these as cool new video game, cheap collectible toys. And with Ash also joining us here to discuss this, since he wasn't here last time.
Yeah.
What do you think about budget collectible toys? Are you going to be buying these, Ash?
I might buy a couple.
Which ones have grabbed your attention?
I'll
so
wait
far?
till God of War comes out, but like, obviously,
Like if you like it, you'll buy the
yeah. Okay. What was in the first wave again? Was,
Bloodborne,
No.
Crash, a car, the thing from Wipeout,
Yeah.
some random Tekken car,
Sackboy was one, wasn't it?
Sackboy, and one more. There was 6.
There's a
so
Tekken character and
and the
somebody-
old F1217 vehicle from Wipeout.
Wipeout.
That classic son of a gun. You know that one?
yep.
You know that one? Big fan. You
Yeah.
big fan of the
Always
F127?
want to drive that one.
You want to drive that? What? You want to wipe out the system? I'm filling time as I can see Ash trying to find the answers on his computer. Let's not beat around the bush here.
What about you,
audience.
Ciaran?
What about me? It worries me that Dylan has said a particular word a couple times that was not mentioned when we previously talked about these. He said the word budget like 4 times, and I'm like, budget?
Well, they are budget. They're only going to be like $20.
Yeah, but...
So they're basically, I consider, it's like whenever people talk about pop vinyls, why pop vinyls so popular is because they're budget collectibles.
Yeah, they're like
they're
$20.
$20,
pop vinyls
30
for me. Don't call them budget collectibles.
They're budget collectibles because people who buy them don't want to spend $300 to $500 or even $150
That's what it
to
was.
$500 on actual proper statues and collectibles.
That's true.
Parappa the Rapper was the 6th one.
That's the fucking guy. Hey, I want to go. It's my dojo. I don't know if that's the song. Yeah, no, they're budget. Tell me they're not budget collectibles. Does it just hurt
They
your
are.
soul?
They're just. It hurts my soul that they're called budget collectibles because I love them.
Well, that's the same as pop vinyls are literally
yeah,
designed
but pop vinyls are cool.
for
Would you prefer us
cheaper
calling them
purpose.
cheap collectibles?
No, that's even worse.
budget.
Exactly.
Way better. Yeah.
No,
So-
they're acceptable. I'll
so
probably
these
won't buy
are-
any, but yeah,
These would be in the competition with pop vinyls.
yeah, they're gonna
basically.
get smashed, get smooshed,
They're going to get smashed.
get
Yeah.
smooshed.
Although, see, as I said last time, I like the idea of there being some competition in the budget collectible area. Because although I own a decent amount of pop vinyls, I don't go crazy. I take mine out of the box. I like some of them. I've never been a huge pop vinyl fan. These type of figures interest me more. Like I brought all the Disney Infinity, most of the Disney Infinity figures. I brought all the Star Wars ones, and I have a decent size collection of amiibos. And I just prefer that style of figure. And all the Infinity stuff plus the amiibo stuff, I'm buying all that. I'm buying them as collectibles. I'm barely using them. Like I play Disney Infinity, but the majority of those I just brought to have on the shelf and look cool. So I think I like this style of figure more than pop vinyl, and they take up less space as well. Like you can fit a whole bunch more next to each other and just cram them together and they on a shelf or whatever.
Oh, you're taking them out of the package.
Yeah, I take everything out of the package because I like to play with my toys.
Ooh.
I don't
That's
keep
why.
my
That's
dick
why I
wrapped in a
appreciate
condom
pop
all day
vinyls
either.
because they look good in their packages. Everything else
Sometimes I
take
say
out,
things on
but-
this podcast and only listeners will catch it later, and I love that.
No, I heard something about a package.
Okay,
I heard something.
continue.
Now, Dylan, there's a really important news story that I hope you have on our list of news stories for this episode.
Yep.
Can I chuck one out while we're talking about toys?
You sure?
Apparently, there's a Rocket League RC set that they've announced at New York Toy Fair.
Do they have? Does
You
it
play
boost
real life
and-
Rocket League? Does it bounce? Does it do flips and shit?
No, it's just pushing the ball around, but
Oh,
still
that's,
pretty cool.
that's boring. That's
It's just a normal RC car that looks like a Rocket League car, which a Rocket League car kind of looks like a normal RC car. Okay? Okay, Ash?
Okay, my
Settle
bad.
the fuck back down
Maybe
there.
they've got
Get the fuck
springs
back
in
down
them, I
in your
don't know.
seat.
Let's
Get the
see,
hell
right.
back
Cool.
down.
So we've got 1 week We have intellectual conversation about media and its current position in the gaming climate. Next week, the third chair brings us fucking Rocket League RC cars.
You're not living up to the Paul James stature. He's having proper conversations on this show. You're like, hey guys, got really something interesting to share with you. They've made RC cars based on RC cars into real RC cars. Fucking look at that. Look at that. Who'd have fucking thought that would be a thing? Like, they're just, you can control them and they go. What do you got to say for yourself, Ash?
I mean, my feelings are really hurt.
Who's isn't on this show?
I mean,
Back to important. Well, you've got the most important news story of last week, don't you?
I do. You want to get to that now? So
I want to
we're
get to
about
it like
move on
right
to.
now. Like,
We're
'cause
gonna get to it right now.
I remembered it while we were discussing the toys, and
I left it to last because it is the biggest news story of the week.
my inner
and
child.
Properly
did a
leave
backflip.
it to last, of course. The biggest news story of the week, tying it back to the first story about remakes and stuff, comes from Kotaku, where Laura Kate Dale, who I trust implicitly with news because she does nothing but break true facts and make sure they're correct, she put up a story this week that said, citing multiple sources familiar with the project, Activision is apparently currently working on a Spyro the Dragon trilogy remaster, which will be announced next month, March, and set for release Q3 2018. It will be a remake like the Crash one, not just an up-res. It'll be like a new textures, new everything, all this sort of stuff, redone. Reportedly being done by Vicarious Visions, who were the people who did the Crash trilogy, of course. This news makes all the sense in the world, but I'll let Ciaran have his hyperactivity moment of happiness in just a moment. But think about these questions I want you to answer. Will it sell as much as Crash? Will it sell better than Crash? Do you think that Spyro has the same nostalgia kick for people my age or upwards? Or I don't know, whatever you consider the Crash age, I guess. Does it have that same nostalgia grab? Ciaran.
Spyro's back, bitches! Enter the dragon! Yeah? Hell yeah, it
unconfirmed.
does. Well, you know.
She got the facts wrong.
I
It's a
trust
Skylanders remake.
Oh my...
I trust this.
Oh.
I trust.
Ashley, those be fighting words. No. We want to enter the dragon again, and I really hope it sells amazingly. I think the success of Crash really lends its hat to, you know, this should be a success on paper.
Shorts.
Should be. I think there is a vast array of people that still have great memories of Spyro with all three games that they've listed on.
Tell me your Spyro memories.
Spyro memories. Learning how to catch those little egg motherfuckers. You know, the ones that fucking ran around? No. You just spent fucking hours. All they were was running a pattern. And if I was a smarter kid, I'd probably have seen that much quicker. But no, I blindly chased after those motherfuckers so much. And then, you know, just how Spyro evolved into, you know, the first game was just more of just that basic like level design and exploring levels and getting the eggs and moving forward. But then it grew into a more character-based piece where there was more characters started to come about it. Like, you know,
By the third game, you've got all these characters team up. The first game is just him. By the third game, you've collected this group of characters that he's old friends with and whatever else.
yeah, and you're like, you are all awesome, and they all have their own little.
You got
thing.
the cheetah.
Got the
You
cheetah.
got the
penguin.
girl. What was it? I don't fucking know.
Got the girl dragon.
the penguin.
In the picture that they put up in that Kotaku post, I don't know if that's where that picture came from, but like the female dragon in that looked really like upraised, and I couldn't remember her looking like that. But God, those games are gonna be good. Remember, like, because you start off in Spyro in the first Spyro.
Do you remember Spyro?
I know
Do you remember when
Spyro.
Spyro had his fire breath and do you remember?
Do you remember when Spyro in the first game could not even fly that well?
He could only glide. Do you remember when Spyro
Well, that makes
could only
sense. He's
glide?
got tiny wings.
Do you remember when he could only glide because he was a baby
He was
dragon?
baby dragon, a baby purple dragon.
If no one knows what we're doing, it's from South Park. It's fine. Remember?
The little dragon.
I remember.
No matter what, I'm excited as all fuck for that game. I'll play the shit of it.
Ash.
I'll buy lots of copies.
Yes.
Do you?
I hold
have
no
you-
nostalgia. I'll see how it is. I didn't pick up Crash Collection, so
What turned you off Crash?
nothing. I just didn't want to spend the money
Was it
on
for
it.
you? Do you reckon that? Do you know? Like, have you seen gameplay? Do you know the
Yeah, it's more
difference between Crash and
open
Spyro?
world platformy, more like Mario 64, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I suppose. Yes, that's correct.
More than Crash.
Is that more up your alley than
Yeah,
Crash?
I guess so.
Yeah.
We'll just see how it translates.
It's going
I
to
think it'll
translate very
translate-
well. I don't think it's
I think
gonna
it'll translate great. The biggest problem is tank controls in the first game are absolutely atrocious. They're the kind of thing that your memory likes to block over, but much like the first Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon one controlled like absolute hot garbage. Spyro controlled like he was a cement mixer. You had to turn him about. You had to turn him like so much earlier than you thought he could. By the time he reached the third game, he was a lot more fluent. Even the second game, because they added like all the new abilities and stuff. But third game, he was doing headbutts and the dives at the ground and all this sort of stuff. So it was a bit more
Even
fluent.
like the used to be able to do, like in the first one, he did the charge where he like put his head down and charged forward. But if
Yeah.
you wanted to turn while he was charging,
Nah,
you
you're
had to, like,
fucked. You're fucked. It's not happening.
You're not
You're
not
just
happening.
outta
Just it's not turning.
I think I have more fond memories of Spyro than I actually do Crash. So yes, I'm I'm as excited for this as I am Crash. I'm currently on the I'm excited, but I'm unwilling to get 100% committed excited until it's like officially announced. Like put out that trailer, I'll commit to the hype, because if they put out the trailer and they put a release date on it, I'm going to believe them because of how Crash went, and I believe that they can put it out on time. Until then, I'm like, this is exciting news, but I don't want to like dive too far into the hype. Spyro was the first game as a kid I ever owned. I would take the disc to friends' places. I've still got my copy somewhere. It has my name written on it with like marker on the front of the disc. You know, my mum or whatever wrote like Dylan Blight or like Dylan Blight property or, you know, some bullshit on the front. I don't know if that wrecks things, but I mean, it probably still works. It's probably scratched the buggery because I was a little kid. Spyro, the first Spyro game was the first game I ever 100%ed in my life, ever. You could finish the game, you could beat the boss. I can't remember his name, but there's like
Ripto, isn't it Ripto?
No, Ripto was the boss in the future ones. The first one had this like just fat, like, I don't know, goblin kind of dude or whatever. He wasn't much of a character. He was like your typical, he locked up all the dragons, rules the world now. And then, of course, your mission in the first Spyro is to free all the other dragons.
Nasty
and then
Knock.
What was it?
Nasty Knock?
Nasty. Yeah, that's it. That sounds about right. Yeah, that's ringing a bell. You could beat the first game, and you'd save the world and all that. But then if you got all the collectibles and then did the like all the eggs, all those things we was talking about before, chasing the really pain in the ass guys, and got all the gems and were they gems or they were something else? I don't know. Anyway, you get all those, and then you do the last boss fight again. You get to end of the credits, secret boss fight against him again, and then you get a secret ending. And I remember back in the day as a little kid, that was the first game 100%, and the first game I got a secret ending in. It was very, very exciting. Number 2 and 3 come around, of course. I think they're a lot different to the first Spyro. They added in all the new abilities, these like more RPG-ish elements, I suppose you'd call them. And then you get to the levels where you control characters that aren't even Spyro, of course. You're controlling different characters. You're fucking skateboarding in a half pipe with the cheetah dude, like all sorts of weird stuff.
I remember that section. I did that for
Yeah.
ages because I sucked
Yeah,
at
you'd
it.
sit in there. You had to get like a certain score in the half pipe to like pass the level. But then if you got an even higher score, that's how you'd get like the secret egg or gem or whatever the hell he was after. I can't even remember. They're such joyous games, like as a little kid, just because they're very cartoony, they're very colorful, they're very much full of character, and especially once you get to the second and third games where they introduce Ripto, and he's like this more fun, not straight up villain. Like he's a villain, but he's got more character, a bit more flair.
He's
to
more
him.
like
He's
he went more towards like the neocortex kind of character.
yeah,
villain,
much more like very much like that. And you know, each area you'd clear, and then you'd know there would be a boss fight, and then there'd be another boss fight in the next area, and then eventually you'd reach the end of the game, and you'd fight him, and then you'd go back and you'd get all the secrets, and you'd 100% each and every one of these games because they were so much fun to play. So, of course, I'm really pumped. Of course, much like Crash, after Spyro 3, Spyro and Crash went on this weird lifespan.
Weird.
And
He turned
weird.
into Skylanders. It made me sad.
Well, that was going to be my thing. Do you think that this could potentially do better than Crash did? And Crash sold like hotcakes. Let's not forget that Crash was the #1 high-selling game in Australia last year, and it sold well everywhere all over the world, basically for nostalgia reasons. This game, I think, has the potential to sell even better because of the nostalgia, plus the fact that Spyro's name is now associated to Skylanders and a Netflix animated series. So does it sell better?
I think
could.
so. I think so. Like, you could just be like, hey, kids, look, Spyro, play this. You know, if you said to parents, this is 3 games in one. Like, this is 3 full games in one. Think of all the value of getting rid of your kids.
You just
And they'll
stick
be like,
Skylanders on the front of the box, and then it'll sell more.
No, don't. Just keep that shit away from my fucking remaster.
It would sell more, though.
reversible cover.
Just fucking.
It would sell more.
It would.
And if marketing wise EB was allowed, I could see, like, you know, you go into JB and they've got the little review cards. They'll just put their own ones or whatever in there. It's just like, hey, before Skylanders there were this. Like, that's a good way to do it. I don't see them putting Skylanders on the box though. Don't know if that'll happen. Maybe that's just a bit too sus. Something like that. But yeah, it is odd that Crash basically crashed and died, for better intensive words. But Spyro did go off, was a part of all these other shitty games, kind of like Crash wasn't part of shitty games with Crash, in fact, and then was turned into Skylanders. The first Skylanders game had Spyro's name in the title to some degree. I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but it was like Spyro something or other, like Skylanders or Skylanders something or other Spyro. By the time you get around to Skylanders 2, 3, 4, whatever the different variations they ditched
character.
Spyro.
Skylanders Spyro's Adventure was the first one released.
There we go.
2011.
Oh, really? Yeah, because it eventually got to the point where it had nothing to do with Spyro. And
Yep.
it's making me... You could see the game was going that way with them adding all these extra characters and stuff. But I'm currently looking through like pictures of all Spyro's friends, and I feel all warm inside, and I also feel sad at the same time that I forgot them. Do you remember Sheila the kangaroo? There was a kangaroo named Sheila. Yep. There was also a monkey called Agent 9. And he had like the really like stereotypical like FBI like voice and everything like that. An agent. That was pretty. Well, he says agent in his name.
Yeah, I think he was in the third one.
Yeah, he's in the third one. There's like a bunny that falls in love with the cheetah. It's just...
I remember. Yeah, no, I remember her, actually.
Do you remember the bunny?
Yeah,
and then
I remember the bunny.
Yeah, I'm just flicking through and looking at all of them. Like Hunter was the cheetah's name. There was a douchebag named Moneybags. He was like a bear.
Yep, Moneybags. But he's who you brought your abilities and stuff off.
Yeah.
That's how you got them.
And then, most creative name for that penguin, Sergeant Bird.
Yeah, and that was because Bevan.
Sergeant Bird. We're getting a T-shirt with that. Look.
There's a game. Have you seen the game? You know the game Rocket Bird Hard Boiled Chicken? Have you seen that?
No.
Yes. Every time I see that game, I've never played it in my life, but it always reminds me of the penguin level in Spyro, because what you're in a jetpack as the penguin, and you're like shooting stuff and throwing bombs at stuff, and that's what that game is. Rocket Bird Hard Boiled Chicken or whatever. Never played it, but every time I see screenshots, I've always just been reminded of Spyro.
On sale.
Yeah, but I'm like, it's not Spyro, so not buying that shit.
It ain't
Could be.
Spyro.
Could be. So no, I'm really excited. I hope we hear news about this, and we should presumably hear news about this soon, because according to the story, they're going to announce it at some point in March. September is the 20th anniversary of Spyro as well, so kind of just lines up perfectly for them to be releasing this year, and that's a marketing campaign of power. All right, let's do hashtag Mailsplosion. Let's tackle
Mailsplosion.
Let's do a Michael C question. Do you believe the console cycle will return to being short like PS1 and PS2 era? Now, this is a question I always have weird time working through, because if you look at it, let me lay it out. PS1, 1995. PS2, 2000, 5-year gap. PS3 2007, 7 years. PS4 2013, 6 years. There's not that big of a difference to me, really. Does anyone else think?
I think they're going to get bigger.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any difference so far, but
We're currently at 5 years.
we're currently at 5 years, but I don't see the end of this console generation for another year or two at least.
It's not on the horizon.
Like, it's not on the horizon. Consoles are getting to the point where they're getting so close to being PCs that, you know, Sony and Microsoft and whoever wants to make a console it's going to be so much harder for them to continue to improve their consoles and maintain the price point that people seem to expect.
Yeah.
You know, it's getting to that point where their growth and expansion is quicker than the development of technology at the price they want. And so I think either they're going to have to do, something like what Xbox has now done with the Xbox One X, where they've released a stronger unit that is an optional device for more money, but it depends on what you want, is what you're getting. I think that's going to be more of a trend going forward.
I see that kind of small upgrade being that replaces like the Slim.
Yeah.
Like that's, instead of doing like a Slim, that's a cheaper version for them to produce and a cheaper version for people to buy at market, at consumer level, that they stop doing that. And then every console from now on, a couple of years in, because of how fast the technology and stuff moves now, that they have to put out the Pro, the S, the X, whatever that is, and just offer it and then slowly transition out the older one at some stage. Ash?
Yeah, I expect them to stay the same or be longer. I think it takes a lot longer to make games as well, which I think if you're halfway through development and then suddenly it's a new generation, that's like another year or two onto the production. So that doesn't make sense.
Do you think they're like, so we presume at this stage that PS5's at least been prototyped,
Probably.
at least, at some stage. Do you think there's any games out there? Like a lot of people like to look at The Last of Us 2 and go, well, that's a PS5 game. Like that's coming out for PS5. And if that comes out for PS4, it's going to be the type of thing where it's like, it's out on PS4, but then the PS5 comes out and they put it out like release day, kind of like they did with the PS3, PS4 era type thing.
No, I think all the games they've currently announced are going to be out on PS4. I don't think they've done PS5 yet.
You know what Ash is like for predictions, audience members.
Yeah,
so trust that however you want.
Trust that. The thing for me is I never want to get to a point where I lose my games library ever again.
I lied. There is one game that could be PS5, and that's Death Stranding, because that's going to be another 6-7 years before it comes out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a safe bet.
Yeah.
That's a very
Episodic.
safe bet. I don't want to, because that's why, I've switched over to a digital format for all my consoles, where I'm like, I don't want to have to go through losing a whole games library again on a different console. Like, I just literally want to be like,
Well, just keep your consoles, then you won't have to
no,
worry
I keep my consoles, but I don't want to have heaps of consoles around. I want them just to be like, here's your new console. By the way, everything you bought on the last console will work perfectly fine. Okay, go. And that would be awesome. I'd appreciate
That would be.
That would be.
I don't think it's going to happen, though.
Shut up, Ashley.
Because they don't like to do consumer-friendly stuff.
That's why Xbox has committed to me that they'll do that. And I believe them.
Well, that's the only way they're going to win the next the next battle.
Next console war. The next war cometh. When's the war start, laddie?
Why does it have to be a war? Why can't we all be friends?
Because conflict.
Conflict's money,
Yeah.
The only reason the Iraq war's still going because America wants it to.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Let's bring it back to talk about gaming here. Far out. Oh wait. The
Yeah,
CIA
it is.
has opened a web browser on my computer.
My webcam's like flashing 3 times. That's weird.
Yeah. Well, I've done it now.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh dear. Moving on. I've only got one hashtag every trophy counts this week. They put up I forgot the game was coming out because I don't care, but the trophy list for Metal Gear Survive is up. It looks exactly like what I'd expect the trophy list to look like. If you don't actually know, Metal Gear Survive is actually a survival game. Like it's It's not some punny type weird thing. And when they first announced it, they're like, oh, it's a whole bunch of zombies and stuff like that. No, it's like you've got to hunt for food and forage and like you've got health and whatever else. Like it's a proper survival game. That's what it is. And that's what the trophy list shows you when there's trophies for eating food and harvesting stuff and building huts and so on and so on and killing 300 people. There's a few trophies for killing 300 people X different ways, like stat with this kind of weapon, blah, 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 blah. Does anyone actually care about this game or has any interest in checking it out at all?
No.
That's a whole round no.
That's a whole no.
Don't care to expand on that at all. That is our opinion on Metal Gear Survive. Thank you very much, Kojimas.
Konami. It's Konami.
Thank you for whatever. Konami, yeah. Konami, sorry. Thank you for joining us this week on Platinum Explosion. It's been an interesting episode. We'll be back next week with episode FBI special where we'll be interviewed about the things that are said on the show and times and stuff like things like that because we'll just be covering our asses because it's just what happens sometimes. It's fine. Where can people follow you, Ashley?
You can follow me on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY. It's a thing. There's no dot in the middle.
There certainly is not. But shout out to
Dr. Tan.
Dr. Tan.
Shout out to Dr. Tan.
Kieran, where can people follow you?
People can find me at your boy Ringo on Twitter or check us out on twitch.tv/Explosion Network for all the streaming fun and come join our Discord.
What's the Discord?
Go to our twitch.tv/Explosion Network. There's a button. Click on that. You go into our Discord.
Don't we have like a link that you can just say?
Well, no. It's not.
No?
Okay, give me a second. Bear
Can
with
you
me.
make a permanent
bit.ly/EN Twitch. Discord.
Discord, Ian Discord. Okay, bit.ly/Ian Discord. It'll be up and going in like 5 minutes. Well,
That's
for you,
enough
it would have
time.
been like 12 hours ago, but just carry on, my wayward son.
It'll be in the show notes.
Fair enough. You can follow me on Twitter at I forgot what the fuck I was going to say. At Vivaladil, VIVALADIL. You can follow this show on Twitter at Platt Podcast.
Is that right?
Pod. Yeah. Yeah, because it's the whole thing.
Because you get it wrong like every other week, don't you?
Why wasn't it Platt Pod to get in line with Explosion Pod? And I had to be like, well, someone had apparently taken Platt Pod, so I had to take Platt Podcast.
Did they still have it, or did you scare them off the other week?
Hey?
Do they still have it, or?
No, I don't look, because if I look and it's suddenly available after a week or like a couple of weeks since I changed it, that would just upset me quite a bit.
Tweet
no
at
results for Platt Pod.
Tweet at Platt Pod.
Nope. Well, yes. Tweet at Platt Pod to tell them to give the podcast to this show, Platt Podcast, which is the
We'll
Twitter
trade
you
them.
wanna-
Tell them we'll trade them schoolyard style
wanna
Platt
follow.
Podcast for Platt Pod.
If you listen to this on iTunes, give us a 5-star review. If you don't listen to us on YouTube, on iTunes, and you listen to this on YouTube, give it a like. If you listen to this elsewhere, I don't know what the fuck you do to help us out. Go buy a t-shirt or some shit. Fuck.
Yeah, go to explosionnetwork.com/shop. You can buy a shirt that says Platt Platt.
Yeah. Support us by wearing a shirt that says Platt Platt. It actually doesn't give away. I wore that shit out to the casino in Sydney, and I blended in fine because it wasn't like this is an obnoxious shirt with a penguin on it. It was just like Platt Platt. What's that mean? It doesn't matter. Like it blended in fine. It's big text, but I feel like it blended into the normie crowd quite well. That's how I'm going to sell that shirt. Thank you very much. Don't forget that this podcast is a product of explosionnetwork.com. You can follow Explosion Network at ExplosionPod on Twitter. And then you can go to explosionnetwork.com to read all the reviews and the views and the other things and check out all the other podcasts and programming that we have coming up in your face and ear holes. Thank you very much. Platt Platt.
This February, check out our YouTube and social channels for video content from RTX Sydney, where everything began for the Explosion Network crew last year. On March 3rd, we'll be running a celebratory Twitch stream to mark year 2 of the network. It'll take place 10 AM Sunday morning to midnight and feature the usual shenanigans, but also some exciting announcements about new content coming from the crew in 2018. So make sure you keep that Saturday free. Of course, our weekly shows continue with Pleasure Explosion on Mondays, Platinum Explosion Tuesdays, and Grandstand Gurus Thursdays, each at 12 PM. Catch our live streams at twitch.tv/Explosion Network and keep your targets locked on explosionnetwork.com for all our explosive content. Happy birthday, Explosion Network. But more importantly, happy birthday, mate.
What's the bit, Ciaran? What's the fucking bit? Come
What
on.
do you mean, what's the bit?
What's the bit?
What
the bit?
do you mean, what's the bit?
There's always a bit.
Is there a bit?
Why isn't
There's
there
like
a bit?
There's 2 to 3 second silence after I say plat plat, and I end the show, and then you come in with the bit that's
I don't
put at
know
the
what you're
end of the
talking
show.
about, Dylan.
There's always a
I mean,
bit.
I
this is
don't
kind of
think there is.
disappointing, if anything.
Well, you know,
Bitless.
I'm a bit deflated after coming onto the show after last week, riding the high of intellectual proudness of our show, and we got fucking Ashley Hobley on. Who invited Ashley?
He showed up, actually. He was here before you, to be fair.
Yeah. I'm on time, bitch.
That's right.